to promote this goal. I would say the reason that this has become more of an issue in the forefront since the pandemic began is I think we all recognize that the sacrifices and the challenges that have occurred since the beginning of the pandemic have not fallen evenly throughout our society. In fact, I've seen reports that say those in the top third of income earners over the last year have actually seen their income or their wealth rise during this pandemic. And as we're all well aware, those in the lower third of the economic ladder, if you will, have really struggled. They've seen their hours cut. They've sometimes lost their jobs. There have been tremendous pressures placed on people of color, on women in particular, on child care institutions, on people who are front facing and serving us in the public. And so all of this led Magda and her staff to really review what we are doing as an employer and how we can do better. And so one of the things that has come out of this is the decision that my administration has made, and we will be proposing a significant change in the basic compensation for our lowest paid employees. With the approval of the Common Council, we will adjust compensation so that everyone employed by the City of Milwaukee will be paid at least $15 an hour. We're doing this because we believe, and I personally believe, our employees should be paid a living wage. This is a matter of fairness and respect for all people who work in city government. There are several hundred employees who will see an increase in their pay if my proposal wins approval. Starting in September, again, this is based on the assumption that the council approves this, the change will impact some library circulation assistants, some school crossing guards, some temporary election workers, fire cadets, police aides, and various other workers in city government. The additional cost of the wage changes will be managed within this year's city budget and will be included in my budget proposal for 2022. Why are we doing this? Well, I think it's pretty clear that employers throughout our region are looking at this issue, and many are coming to the same conclusion that I have. All employees should be treated and need to be treated fairly. Hard work ought to be compensated in a way that shows respect for the employee and shows respect for work. I am hopeful that the Common Council will act favorably on my recommendation. The salary ordinance is being introduced in the current council cycle, and that means approval could come as soon as July 7th. I want to thank Magda for her leadership on this and turn it over to her for some additional comments. Magda?
Thank you so much, Mayor Barrett. And I just echo your sentiments. This is something that is really important to the city of Milwaukee and our employees, and really just ensuring that they are having a living wage. And I think that's important across the nation and our state. And that has been part of the conversations that we've been having in this administration. So I'm looking forward to the Common Council members supporting this initiative and this proposal. And I thank the mayor for supporting this proposal and moving it forward. Thank you.
The question comes from Corey Hess. Will this help the city retain employees? I certainly hope so. And again, we have as a goal as an employer to treat our employees fairly. We're also well aware that there are many pressures. And right now, there is also a labor shortage in some areas. And so some of this is competitive. We want to be competitive with other employers. So is there some altruism involved? Yes. Is there some hard-headed practicality involved? Absolutely, yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. We realize that in some areas there's a tight market, and we want to be competitive. So there will be several hundred individuals who will be affected by this. And Magda, do you want to talk about the current hourly compensation range for those individuals that will be affected by this?
Yes. So seeing a question in the chat, this is going to cost about $1.4 million for the city of Milwaukee. And just to give you a sense of how many individuals will be currently impacted, we have about 405 or so current employees that will be impacted by this change. And 66.7% of those are City of Milwaukee residents. So we're very excited that we're going to be able to move forward, or we're hoping to move forward with this proposal. And in terms of retention, again, what the mayor said, this is in our efforts to not only just be competitive, but to treat our employees fairly and compensate them appropriately.
There's a question here in terms of that's $1.4 million to make the adjustment for next year. We'll have that built into our budget for 2022. So it'll be a comparable amount, maybe a little higher because it'll be for the full year. But we will build that into the budget. I'll have you answer this question, Mark, to what is the current hiring situation in the city? Is the city government experiencing the same worker applicant shortage that many businesses are experiencing?
I think that's relative to the positions that we're hiring for. Obviously, the city of Milwaukee is always hiring for different positions. I don't know that we are facing similar shortages as some of, say, our restaurant businesses because we don't have those types of positions. But we are always looking for skilled workers to come and join us at the city of Milwaukee and those that have diverse backgrounds. So I think this is in an effort to bring people to the city of Milwaukee as employees and hopefully stay with us as they progress in their careers.
So Evan Peterson has a question. What do we say to those business owners who say they can't afford to keep staff as is and then raise the wage? I think we may be, and I can't say this with certainty because I haven't seen any data on this, but just intuitively, I think that we are experiencing right now a market-driven pressure on employers to raise wages for the lowest paid workers. And I think that's a reflection of several things. I think it's a reflection of people being more reluctant to take some of these jobs. I think it's a reflection of the economy expanding and there being more opportunities. And at the end of the day, I don't know that anyone would say that this is a bad thing that those individuals who are working get paid more so they can support their families. I think every one of us as a human being want to be able to support our families. And I believe those who are at the lowest end of the economic scale should also be able to support their families when they're working. And so I think, again, I understand from a small business perspective that this puts pressure on them. And I'm hopeful that they'll be able to survive. I want small businesses to survive. But I think what we are experiencing, again, in society right now, and not just locally, but nationally, is somewhat of a labor shortage. And so just from simple economics, that is going to require an increase in pay for those at the lowest end of the economic scale. And hopefully that will all work itself out as the businesses succeed and they make profits. So again, I realize this is a dynamic situation, but I think it's always a dynamic situation. Allison Durr asks, would there be a progressive increases or would the increase happen all at once? It would happen all at once in September. That's our goal. And her follow-up question is, given the city's financial challenges and talk of potential staffing cuts in future years, how will these rates be sustained? We've done an analysis with our budget office. We believe that they can be included in our future budgets. We know that there's a cost to this, but again, there's also an issue of equity here, and that is making sure that we are treating our employees fairly. So that's how we're confident we will make it a priority that these raises be sustained. What departments do these 405 employees come from? Again, Magda, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, it actually varies. There are the Milwaukee Public Library is going to be impacted by this. The Milwaukee Health Department, our police departments, the Department of Public Works. So it really is across the board where we'll see effects of this. And I think someone asked what the current lowest hourly wage for workers are from those that will be receiving an increase. I can say that the lowest paid employee or employees is about $8.19. And so we'll be seeing a range of individuals that make between $8 to about $14 that will be affected by this proposal.
Here's a question it's a natural question that I expected. If the minimum wage at the city will be raised to $15 an hour, does that mean that workers who are currently at $15 would see an increase in their wages as well? That's not part of this proposal, but obviously, again, when you raise the lowest wages, it does put some pressure on those who are one rung above them on the compensation ladder. So all that is part of the conversation, the ongoing conversations that we have about being fair to our employees. I think that that's all we have with regard to this. Let me ask you this, Mike, this comes from Sean Ryan. Could the proposal affect employees of private companies doing work under city contracts?
At this time, this proposal does not impact our contractors. This is only for city employees that are, our city employees.
I see a question that's off topic, but I will address it. Following the fatal crash last night at 76 in Clinton after a police pursuit, what is your stance on Milwaukee Police's chasing policy while weighing safety concerns for officers and residents? I have not reviewed that report. Obviously, I'm familiar with what happened last night. I will look at that to do an analysis of it. I'll talk to the chief to make sure that we're doing the right thing. My strongest message, of course, is we need to have our residents follow our traffic laws. It's a tragedy when anyone is killed. And so my heart goes out to those individuals who lost their lives and their family members. At the same time, this is a tragic, tragic reminder of how dangerous it is for those who are in vehicles or driving vehicles recklessly, as well as for pedestrians and police officers. There are parts of the city where this is a serious, serious problem. And I once again ask our residents to act responsibly. This is a life and death situation, as evidenced by what has happened in Milwaukee. All right, thank you very, very much. Thanks for coming, everybody.